Hey, Mike here. So thought it was time for a little bit of an update. Big new change is that I decided to build a static condenser, so I thought might as well do it in some style, right? So what we have here, it's a little dark, so I can't really. I added some pictures so you can see, but it's all copper. It is, I don't know the exact length of the tubing on it. But probably somewhere around 30 feet of 1/4-inch tubing. Some of the pictures at the beginning should show a little more detail of the construction of it. The top and the bottom rings are made out of 3/8 copper tubing that were cut and brazed together, and then all those bars that connect the two of them are 1/4-inch tubing that's flattened in the vise. There's 20 of them. They're 11 inches in length, and it forms a rough hyperboloid, which I think is kind of nifty. It's a pain in the ass to put together. Took me, I don't know, probably about 6 hours to build the whole thing. The hyperboloid itself, the base structure, went together pretty well. That wasn't too difficult. Well, I mean, it was hard. It took some time, but the difficult part was when it came to actually wrapping the thing in tubing, trying to secure the tubing to the bars to get a good contact and then to braze them. I ended up warping a lot of those bars from the intense heat. But hey, it gave me some practice with brazing, and it's, you know, it's all structural there. I did screw up in this one spot right here, this blob. I was careless and I blew the copper right through, blew a big hole in it, and I was kind of pissed at myself. I started at the top and wrapped down. I decided, well, it's too late, I'm just going to keep wrapping. So I wrapped the whole rest of it, finished all of that, and then whenever I was done, I went back and tried to figure out how I was going to fix that. I was going to cut this section of tubing out and try to repair it, but rather than that, I chose to grab some pieces of like 22 gauge solid copper wire, and I wrapped the whole thing and covered the hole so that the filler brazing material would have something to stick to, and then I brazed over it. So it's kind of an ugly little booger there, but it did the trick. So it's kind of experimental. So the way the thing's mounted on here, there's just a piece of 1/4-inch rod that's coming up from the bottom there, and then I have some flattened 3/8 tubing bars that go across, and with a hole in the center to support it. So it's a little floppy. This isn't the ideal setup for this thing. This isn't how I would have normally wanted to set this thing up, but it's good for testing purposes, and it seems to be working well. So anybody who's watched these videos before is probably aware it's kind of a modular refrigeration system I have installed on the top of this cabinet here for this little mini fridge. What I like to do is to redesign this thing here in the near future, but for now this is plenty. So I did add a sight glass. I don't know if you can even see. It's not full, but I don't think I'm passing any gas through at this point. I'm getting plenty of subcooling on that. Metering device is 11 feet of R290 capillary tubing. I'm not going to go into it right now, but over the last several weeks I've been way off on my capillary tube sizing, so I had to rethink that a little bit. I was using CCOP's Cap Select or Cap Cell, which is a software. It's a Microsoft Windows-based software for sizing capillary tubing that allows you to work with R290. I was way off in trying to determine my heat load. So what I later found out was that Tecumseh recommends for sizing R290 capillary tube is to go off of charts that list R404A. So if anybody's interested in trying to size for capillary tubing for R290 propane, R404A is a good place to start. So I sized it a little long, it's at 11 feet right now, but everything's running smoothly, moving plenty of heat, plenty warm here. We're running at 240 pounds per square inch is 124 degrees saturation temperature on the high side. We're at 153 degrees on the discharge, and 72 on the subcool there. So tons of subcooling actually, but we're moving heat real well. The next phase is to work with my evaporator here. I need to redesign this thing. I'm actually even thinking about trying the glycol tank again. Just curious, because it's already set up. There's no reason why I couldn't just slap that glycol tank back up in there and see how it works. You see that computer fan hanging off the side. That computer fan really, it's tied into the thermostat, so that only runs whenever the compressor runs. That really helps a lot to keep the air circulated and to keep frost from forming on the evaporator too quickly. On pull down, I had the fan just down here in this bottom rack, circulating some air, blowing it upwards, and too thick of a frost layer formed too fast. And what I had to do was to shut it off for about a half an hour and let the evaporator thaw. And then once I started it back up, I pulled the temperature down real rapidly, down into the good refrigeration temperature range here. So I did have it set between 30 and 38. It was kind of short cycling there a little bit, probably every, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes or so. So I've changed that to 28 to 40 and see how well that works. That's really about it. I didn't want to do too much here because it's pretty preliminary right now. But altogether, I'm pretty happy. Probably going to do a little bit of work with the capillary tube, perhaps shortening it a little bit. But I need to give it a few days and see how well it does in the heat. I did put that condenser on there yesterday. I built it 2 days ago, and then I installed it yesterday. I was running some O36, which is far, far different from the O26 capillary tube. And with that, I was able to get some effective refrigeration out of it, but not a lot. I realized this morning, or really last night, having put this sight glass in, that I wasn't getting a good liquid seal. And that may have been a problem. I believe it's been a problem for some time now, even with the air-cooled condensers. So rather foolish on my part, but not the first mistake I've made, and it won't be the last. But I'm happy to say that we're in pretty good position right now. So anyway, I don't mean to gloat, but I'm pretty pleased with that. I think that's pretty nifty. I'd never build it again. It was a pain in the ass. Thanks for watching.